Welcome back to another episode of the Family Album. I'm your host, AJ Sonari.
And I'm Matt Glass.
Last week, you heard our special family meeting where we went through all of Ween's discography in a very inebriated state.
I don't remember a lot from that episode, to be quite honest with you.
Which is good that it's all on recording.
Yeah, great, so they can file the charges. But we're not going to talk about possible charges against our names.
No.
We have a very, very intriguing episode, at least for me and AJ. You guys might not find it intriguing at all, at least part of it. Mm-hmm. But like...
we find us intriguing.
We have a very, very interesting dichotomy of episodes. Both of these are actually ones that we both wanted to talk about for a long time, but for two different reasons.
Yes.
The first one that AJ brought me was The Grand Illusion by Styx.
Mm-hmm. And the album that Matt brought to me is Demon Days by Gorillaz.
Two completely different albums in production,
quality,
tone, quality, style, you name it, they got it.
Talent.
It's different. Talent. But I had been really wanting to bring Demon Days onto the show. AJ had listened to it before, so it wasn't like a fresh thing, but I think our appreciation for it has been rejuvenated.
There's so much to talk about on Demon Days that I feel like even though I have already listened to it, I won't run dry of things to talk about. Like, as you said, my appreciation has definitely grown for this album. I've been repeating it on loop at work. Like, it's so fucking good.
I've been listening to a lot of Gorillaz' stuff just in passing. I have a mega playlist. Mm-hmm. I added pretty much this entire album to it. Because
it's that fucking good.
Flawless all the way through. I think with that being said,
on the other hand,
we could get to that in a second. I think our Grand Illusion is definitely a different kind of light that I will be painting it in terms of my opinion. But I think usually we're like, oh, which album do you want to start with first? Mm-hmm. I think we got to start with Gorillaz.
Yeah.
Got to give the audience what they're waiting for.
Exactly.
So I'm going to dive into some history because I am so eager to turn my mic down because I'm peaking a little bit, but I am so eager to talk more about this record.
Yes, go off, Matt. Tell us about Demon Days.
I'm not going to go into the whole lore of Gorillaz and the
virtual
world,
members,
the world that they created. Because for those who don't know, I don't know how you wouldn't know, because they're the 256th most listened to artist in the world.
Interesting.
So if you don't know, that's honestly kind of impressive because that means you've been living under a rock.
They got some pretty big hits.
Oh, yeah. Even from their first album. But I digress. I'm just going to go into sort of the bare bones, relevant to this album kind of lore. And I'll dip into a little bit of the lore.
If you want the story of the album in Gorillaz lore, there's a ton of YouTube videos about them.
Which I will be watching later because I think I might have found my new rabbit hole and hyperfixation for the next month. Without further ado, Demon Days by Gorillaz was released on May 11th, 2005 and recorded from March 3rd to November 28th of 2004. It was recorded through Studio 13 in London. It's an alternative rock, hip-hop, trip-hop, pop.
The harpsichord.
Pop and art rock. The members of the actual Gorillaz band, they produced it. Danger Mouse produced it.
Oh, very cool.
Jason Cox.
Very cool.
And James Dring, those are the producers. The actual members of the band, the two founders, I should say, are Damon Albarn and Jamie Hewlett.
Yep.
This has a lot of personnel, but I'm going to read all of it because it's deserving.
I also want to shout out that Damon Albarn is from Blur, and he kind of contributes most of the music, and Jamie Hewlett is the artist for Gorillaz, for all the virtual members.
And I love it.
Yes.
This whole record is just amazing. So we got Damon Albarn on lead vocals, keyboards, acoustic guitars, synths, and melodica. Danger Mouse, he does some of the percussion, drum programming, and the loops. Jason Cox, more drum and drum programming. Same with James Dring. Cass Brown on drums, Simon Torg on some additional guitar, Sally Jackson on violin, Stella Page on viola, Amanda Drummond on viola, Isabel Dunn on cello, Al Mobbs on double bass, Emma Smith on double bass.
Prabjote Osahn?
Possibly. Apologies, because your violin on tracks 2, 5, 8, 10, and 15 are incredible. Let's see. We got Nene Cherry, Booty Brown,
Yeah.
the San Fernandez Youth Chorus. I already know what track that's
Yep.
on. De La Soul, which I did not know. That was pretty cool. Antonia Paglados, Ike Turner, MF Doom.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
The villain.
Roots Manuva, Martina Topley Bird, Sean Ryder,
Oh, Sean Riders. What a silly guy.
Rosie Wilson, Dennis Hopper, and the London Community Gospel Choir. Which, oh my God. If that doesn't say enough about how extensive the production for this record was, I don't know what will.
We'll get into it.
It's this record. If you can't tell already, I'm very, very jazzed to talk about it because this record is, in my opinion, like flawless. It's probably one of the most known albums that they have.
Definitely.
It's really where they just like hone in on their sound is sort of like mixed between like they kind of shy away a bit from the post-punk elements.
And like kind of like the more eclectic genre bending kind of style, and they lean more towards a specific tighter sound.
With like that's more hip hop and more like art pop. And they really just get so experimental, but in this way that's not taxing to listen to. So but another thing, one more thing to add.
Of course.
This band has virtual members.
Yes.
That's kind of one of the main like grabs from this. They are seen on the cover of their self-titled, but they are more prominently defined, I think, in this
album cover.
In this album lore. And those virtual members are 2D on vocals and keyboards. He's the blue-haired guy with the white...
The black eyes.
Are they black? Oh, they are black.
They're black, yeah.
Sometimes they're white.
They're white and on the now because Murdoch isn't around and he's happy.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah. It's a very interesting dynamic. So all of Damon Albarn's vocals are through 2D.
Yeah.
Usually whenever he's singing, 2D
in like a
is
music
the one
video.
is like singing. Because all the music videos are like animated.
Yeah, and they're fucking awesome.
They are really cool.
Yeah.
Russell Hobbs, he is the drummer. And actually, the internet got it wrong.
What's that?
It said that Russell was the bassist.
Whoa.
That's crazy.
What's this from?
I just looked it up, like virtual members.
Oh,
like,
shit.
And it mixed it up.
That's crazy.
Well, that's incorrect.
Yeah.
Russell Hobbs is the drummer.
Yes.
And I've adored his aesthetic in every album. He's probably my favorite, if you want me to be honest with you, because I just love his character design so much. We got Murdoch Nichols on bass guitar, and I found out recently that he is apparently based off of the Creeper from Scooby-Doo, which is very telling.
So funny.
He's a scumbag.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit.
But in like the best kind of way.
In the most charming way possible.
You kind of like love to hate him a bit, I feel like.
He's also green.
He's, and kind of a slimy dude.
Yeah.
And then Noodle is on guitar, keyboards, and a little bit of backup vocals.
And she has her own track, too, on this album as well.
Yes, she does. And Noodle is voiced by Rosie Wilson.
Yes. At least on Demon Days.
At least on Demon Days.
Yeah.
This band has an extensive amount of lore, had an extensive amount of production, and for me, an extensive amount of enjoyment.
Absolutely.
And I am so excited to get into it. So without further ado, AJ, I think we should, in fact, get into it.
I agree.
So the album starts off with an intro. It's just a really short instrumental.
Very ominous.
Very ominous. Because, like, I mean, it's called Demon Days. You know what I mean? You got to make it kind of, like, foreboding. But, like, not in, like, a way that's going to unsettle you.
Yeah. It's more
like,
just kind of like of what's to come.
Yeah. And what's to come is great. Fantastic. It's just kind of this really, like, sleazy, really kind of, like, grimy, like, horn.
I think it might be like a bass clarinet or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's combined with, like, synth elements, too, which I think this album really excels at, combining the electronic and the acoustic very well.
Oh, without a doubt.
So it's kind of cool that you see that from the very start, which is awesome.
There's also some, like, studio imagery of, like, some, like, city sounds from what I can kind of hear. And I really think it sets the tone, but, like, not... It also doesn't take up too much space.
No, because it's like 30, 40 seconds, something like that.
Yeah. So there's not a lot to say about it.
Yeah.
But we're about to get into a track that I thoroughly enjoy. I used to not enjoy this track very much in high school.
Yeah.
But I do very much like it now. And it is the real opener, Last Living Souls. I love Damon's vocals on this. Are we the last living souls? Are we the last?
The little keys accenting him.
Oh my gosh.
That's great.
And then I really love how like the electronic like a modular like synth thing
kind of like slowly kind of does more and more as the song progresses. Yeah.
But it like kind of scatters around like the channels.
And then like the melody gets replaced by strings later on too. That's such a nice touch. And I especially love the bridge where everything cuts out and it goes all acoustic.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's great.
They have a really nice like balance with like production techniques. And I
absolutely.
really respect the hell out of that. Yeah, no, I would say that this one very much grew on me. I did not like this one originally, but it definitely grew in favorability as it went on. I also think like the beeps of like the synth, it kind of gives it a sense of dimension where like it feels like it's kind of all in your ear periphery.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So I like this. I don't think there's a bad track on this album at all. This is probably like one of my least favorites though. I just maybe it's just because like fatigue or something, but this track just doesn't really do much for me anymore.
I gotcha.
I think it's still solid and there's a lot of good parts on it, but just in comparison to like the rest of the tracks,
It's hard to
There's so much good on this album that even like the worst is still very good.
I love the music video for this one too.
Is there a music video for this one?
There is.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Because it like fades out of like 2D. Are we the last?
I didn't know that.
It's
Very
cool. I vividly remember that from my high school days.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just like the bass on this one really goes hard. Like, oh my God. It just, in my opinion, it starts off the album very, very well.
Yeah, it's definitely a very good tone setter.
Shall we keep going?
Yeah, because I'm fucking stoked on this next track.
Oh my God. This is another one. This next track is called Kids with Guns.
Yeah.
I used to really not like this song at all, but oh my God.
I love this track.
This track is so good.
It's one of my favorites. And just that bass line is so beefy and like so cool, but like so like haunting. It's awesome.
Oh my God. And then like I don't want to jump like too much, but like the end when like the drums do that thing and it just rides on the fucking
everything
cymbal.
gets like really loud. The guitar kind of goes in and it just gets really heavy. That part fucking rules.
It's so good. Kids with Guns. It's very funny because I feel like it might be on the Now. There's this one song called Revolving Doors. I don't think it's on the Now. That's that's the blue and pink one, right?
Yeah.
It's a different one. It's the one where it's just 2D, like ominously looking at the audience, but like a red background. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't. Maybe it's on like D sides or something like that.
Maybe I'll have to check it. But there's a song later in their discography called Revolving Doors.
Yeah.
And I genuinely feel like they tried to recreate this
Kids
song
with
with that.
Gotcha.
Even though it has like a mainly like I think ukulele kind of hook on that one, but yeah. But we're not talking about Revolving Doors. We're talking
Kids
about
with Guns.
Kids with Guns.
One of the best songs on the album, in my opinion.
It's definitely like top 3.
I fucking loved it. I just love how cool it sounds.
It is the 4th track, or not 4th track. It is actually the semi like 4th released single.
Yeah.
Alongside a later track, which I also adore.
So much love on this album.
It was released on April 2006.
Okay. I also got
April 10th, 2006.
2006.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Glad we cleared that up.
They do this the weird British way where it's like the number month. So
year.
I like
That's confusing. I understand.
I don't know why I didn't just rearrange it in my notes like a smart content
You have to be
creator
authentic
would.
to the album, you know.
It's true. It's true. It is very British, but I do love this.
I want to shout out Nana Cherry's backup vocals on this track as well.
Phenomenal.
Very good.
Amazing. It's so simple melody wise, but it works. Like, oh my God.
Dude, the fucking steel drums during the chorus, dude.
Oh my God.
So fucking awesome. Like, it's stuff you wouldn't expect.
No, but it's not jarring like it would be on Tally Hall's like quadruple M. Like, they utilize it so well, and there are silly moments, but it doesn't kind of take from the integrity of the album.
Because it's not like supposed to be like a focal point. It's supposed to accent like the main focus, what's going on around them.
Because the virtual band is pretty eclectic.
Yeah.
And I think they kind of utilize how unusual they are, but in like the most tasteful way possible.
Definitely.
And making an aesthetic that billions of people would probably enjoy for like years to come.
I would wholeheartedly agree with that.
Like their self-titled album at the very beginning, it definitely is great.
Yeah.
This album, I feel like defined them.
Absolutely.
Like Clint Eastwood is an amazing track, but this album just banger after banger after banger. And aesthetically, it's there. It's so there.
And there's also like the social commentary angle too.
Oh my gosh,
that still is like relevant today, which is awesome. Like Kids with Guns. you see it like from the beginning. Yeah, just very tasteful in all categories.
No, absolutely. There's a lot to be appreciated from this track and like the next 6 or 7 in my opinion.
Totally.
Shall we move on to the next track, which is probably one of my favorites?
Yeah, this one's cool.
Oh Green World. When I first heard this song, I was immediately hooked. It's so catchy and like I don't know what it is about it. Just the
something.
Yeah, like
the bird screeches,
and then
the
like
claws.
The psycho like
the psycho strings. That's really cool.
Do you know what this song is about?
I believe it's an environmental song.
Okay.
Did I write it down? I think a lot of this album is kind of the Demon Days, or it was kind of like the era that Gorillaz was defining as the early 2000s of just being a really shitty time to live in.
Yeah.
And it's basically talking about all like the just like political issues that were going on around, especially in America, with which we'll get to on some later tracks.
Oh, so good.
But yeah, this is more of an environmentalist message, just saying that like if we don't take care of like the earth, it's going to die.
Green World,
don't deserve me now.
Oh my gosh, oh my god,
the backup vocals and the little harmonies.
It's just everything is so good on this one. It's one of my personal favorites. The synthesizer, I love the bass, the boots, like oh my god.
So funky.
It really is.
I also really like how the song gets like progressively more and more electronic, and that kind of symbolizes how like the society is moving more towards like an artificial kind of focused mindset, and as we're leaving like the natural behind, it's very, very cool, symbolic little production technique.
Oh, for sure. And like even like the way that it sort of repeats the one phrase, like with the ukulele, like crappy plucking, and it repeats it and it just goes like oh my gosh. It's a nice build up.
Yeah, absolutely.
It feels very stream of consciousness, but like very good. Like
also like a very just kind of like punk kind of industrial sound too, which is really cool. Kind of going back to like their first album, just kind of but like improving upon that tenfold.
Anything else to say about this track?
No, I think we can move on to another fucking banger.
Oh my gosh. So this next track is called Dirty Harry.
Yeah.
It is the third single of this record, and it was released on November 21st, 2005. And my God, just everything about this track I love.
Fucking rules.
I love like the what is that? Is that like a Rhodes maybe, or is it like a?
I wouldn't really know. It's some kind of synth.
Yeah.
But the way that like the rhythm of it and like the tone they use is just so catchy and interesting, and like it fucking grooves. I love it.
It's so good, and I think what I love about it is like it's obviously sampling like a loop or something like that, but the loop sounds like so like. It sounds like a pre-existing like song almost that they're just kind of looping over and over. So whatever production techniques they use to make it sound so aged, but then like utilize this amazing like the like beat later on in the song. Oh my gosh.
I also love like the little ride cymbal hits in the beginning as well. That's fucking awesome.
It almost sounds like a sample song off of like a Casio or something.
Totally.
Like something about that is like, I think I wrote that for like a later track too, but like it's, oh my God.
And just like the rhythm of the beat too is just so cool. And I especially love it when it switches to the more kind of like harder kind of beat when everything comes in with like the kind of stomp claps is really cool. And of course, Booty Brown. I think it's the first feature on the album.
I think so.
And he fucking kills it. Amazing verse, just kind of talking about war and America and how they shouldn't get into foreign policies they have no reason getting into, and how that affects people's livelihoods. He's an amazing performer. Like some really, really good lyrics. Like your water's from a bottle, mine's from a canteen. That shit fucking rules. There's a nice string break that segues into his feature that is really like well tastefully done.
That scream, that like rips through the channels. Oh my God.
It's like a plane, like a fighter plane flying through your ears. It's awesome.
Like even the liberties they take sound effect wise, like they're tasteful and like you're like, oh, that was like it's not like fatiguing at any point.
There's like a point on Kids with Guns too where there's like you can hear like ambulance sirens in the background too, which is like really like dark, but it's like very effective. And it's not like upfront, it's very subtle, which is awesome.
No, for real, for real. I think what I love about this song too is just the I need a gun
with the choir.
I think that is a great example of what I love most about Gorillaz is that they could just take a simple like melody and just go so far with it.
Exactly.
Despite it literally just being like ba 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 ba. Like something about that, I'm like, wow, just I think
It's impressive.
You like that like little melody, but then there's also all the production techniques around it that just keep like carrying it like without it ever feeling fatiguing.
Exactly.
It's just amazing. This track is such a jam. I have a playlist. This is something I don't really talk about very often, but I take a lot of pride in making these really odd like aesthetic playlists.
Okay.
And I have this one called Black Fucking Coffee, which is sort of a wake up playlist of like smooth R&B, sort of like hip hop, but also like jazz rap and like all this stuff. So there's like a mix of like things that kind of match this vibe I'm going for. I got some Thundercat on there, which is why I've been really, really getting into it.
Hell yeah.
I have One Beer by MF Doom.
Nice.
Which is, oh my God, so good.
We'll get to him.
We will get to him, but we really should also have an episode dedicated to him at some point.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say was this song is on there, and every single time I hear the like in the morning, I'm just like, well, I'm awake.
Yep.
The Black Fucking Coffee worked. I don't know. That's just the idea of the playlist, but just I don't know, something about it it feels like it's such like a morning song for me. Just like you get up, you stretch and start getting ready, brushing your teeth. It makes you feel like I'm in like a movie or something. I don't know what it is.
I'm Dirty Harry.
I hope if I did star in a movie, that's what it would be called.
It's like there's like a movie that's titled something similar like that.
Because that's a phrase too, right?
I think so.
Dirty Harry is like, I think like an English phrase.
It would make sense considering they're from London.
So is M1A1. That's another. That's off of their. That's one of my favorite tracks by them of all time. But
off
like
their debut.
Yeah. That's I believe another like
English
phrase.
term.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Same with Helter Skelter, but that's the Beatles.
Exactly. And who the fuck cares about the Beatles?
I do, but it's okay. A little too much, if you want to be honest with you. But I think I could literally talk about this track forever, so we better move on.
All right. Well, next up we have their best well-known song. We got Feel Good Inc.
I still love this one. I know it's like the just indisputable classic.
Yeah.
Like it makes sense why. Just the boom, boom, boom.
It's such a good bass line and hook.
So good. Who's the rapper on this one again?
De La Soul.
De La Soul?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh my God. Just I love their verses on this and just the maniacal laughter that they do throughout the entire track.
Dude, their verses are so fucking fun. I love them.
I have a really rather unfortunate pop culture reference of where I heard this song. It wasn't the first time I heard the song, thank God. But I do have a pop culture reference nonetheless. It was so AJ, are you familiar with Doctor Who?
Somewhat. I know of it, but I've never seen like any episode.
I used to be a diehard. I still kind of am, but a who head. Horton here's a who. You know what I mean? I actually thought that's what Doctor Who was for a while. I thought it was a Dr. Seuss thing, and I was very confused as to. I was like, "You like Dr. Seuss that much? Where's Horton?" No,
the live action Dr. Seuss spinoff.
It's nothing like Dr. Seuss, but there's a spinoff. There's a few spinoff series, but the one of the most notable ones is called Torchwood, and it sucks. It's not a good show.
Does it torture wood, Matt?
No, it did not light my fire, as the Doors say.
I see.
But this song was featured in an episode of Feel Good Inc., and I remember being like, "What the fuck?
Why?
They don't deserve this. This show is not deserving of Feel Good Inc. whatsoever."
Feel Good Inc. is fucking immaculate.
It really is,
Yeah.
and I love the music video.
It's iconic.
I'm gonna go down this book. Oh my God.
You know something in heart of this shit.
Oh my gosh. Like I think in the echelon of Gorillaz tracks, it's like
Yeah, it's on the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say like personally, I used to like this one more than Clint Eastwood out of like the big
hits.
five or whatever. I very much like this song like right under Clint Eastwood.
Gotcha.
This song is just so good. I remember seeing the music video for the first time when I was in high school and just being like,
wow,
this is the shit.
Yeah.
This is the shit right here.
The way I discovered the song, I did a performance with it with a band. We covered it, and I was like, whoa, this is pretty interesting. There's like this animated band, and then I'd never really listened to Gorillaz after that, after we did that performance until college, where
Same.
I really got into them. With Rock the House, that was like the big song that I like fixated on from their debut. And then like all of 2020, Gorillaz was everything I listened to.
Same here.
So Feel Good Inc. is like, I love it. It's a very good song. It's not like a personal favorite on the album just because it's been so overplayed.
Yes.
but it's iconic is the perfect word for it.
Very iconic.
Like the bass line is so fucking incredible. The juxtaposition of like this dark, sinister tone during the verses with this very hopeful acoustic like ukulele kind of riff in the choruses.
I love that chorus so much.
It's so nice. And you have the vinyl crackles too, which like really kind of emulates the feeling of like art and like hope and creativity. It's just a very well done song.
It really is. And like I know this one is like very much overplayed, and I know like everybody loves this song, you know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I really do have to say that like anytime it comes on, I won't turn it off.
Yeah, obviously.
You know? Like if it ever comes on the playlist, I'm just like, yeah, I'm feeling good.
Feel good, Ink.
Feel good ink. Again, I could talk about this track forever. So yeah. And one thing I really just want to say, the pacing on this record is just so good.
Oh yeah.
That like the fact that we are 6 tracks in and I'm still just like so jazzed about everything that
else.
I'm hearing.
Yeah.
It's kind of insane. So
Like this album flies by.
it really does.
Yeah.
What are we at? It's like 50 minutes?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
Like 51, something like that.
Something like that, yeah. But I could talk about this forever. So
Let's move on to essentially the follow-up track to Feel Good Inc. We have El Mañana, which is also in Gorillaz lore the sequel music video to Feel Good Inc.
yes. I love this track a lot.
Yeah.
This is the split 4th single with
Kids with Guns.
Kids with Guns.
Yeah.
Also released in 2006.
Yeah, April 10th, I believe, was the date. As we know you're all clamoring to know.
April 10th, yes.
Yes.
Exactly. AJ, forgive me.
Yes.
This has like an identical chord progression to Don't Fear the Reaper by Blue
really?
Oyster Cult.
Whoa, I never picked that up.
A little bit.
Because
Like
I don't pick up melodies, so I'm adult. I'm a big monkey. Like a gorilla even.
But I do love the chorus though. It's so good. The electronic hook is just like so nice. It's a nice calm down, I feel like after the last track.
Yeah.
It does something to my brain. It just really scratches like that itch of just the spatial awareness it kind of gives you.
I also love like the rhythm of this track. It has almost like kind of like a Latin feel, just with like the syncopation.
Yeah.
Which I guess makes sense for the title El Mañana, which means the future.
It's also like so non-imposing of a beat too. It's so chill. Like
It's a very melancholic track.
and then the strings too.
Yeah.
Oh my
At
gosh.
the very end.
The legato strings. I love the way they just sample all these like string like suites that are in the middle of it or interludes, I guess. I don't know. But just everything about it is just so good.
Yeah. And you can really hear like the sense of like heartbreak and like Damon's vocals. Sorry, 2D's vocals.
Another thing I should probably mention is that if we haven't already, depending on how the editing of this goes, the people who sing in like the actual band do not always voice the people in the
virtual band.
The virtual band.
I think they have different
speaking
voice actors for each member. I think Damon might voice 2D, but I'm not sure about that. I'll put that in the description.
They're all perfect.
Yeah, they fits everyone's personality very well.
I love it so much. I really, really love the voice acting work in the music video for Saturn's Bars. I know that's the bath. I know AJ, that is not one of your favorite records by them because it's just so long.
Yeah,
but I do like the aesthetic of that album a lot.
Yeah,
it kind of tries to replicate the Demon Days thing too.
Yeah, with the album cover because it was their big return after like a 7-year hiatus, I think. From Plastic Beach. So it makes sense.
Listen, man, it's a long album, but you hear Busted in Blue and you're like, yeah, that's correct.
Like there's good shit on there, but I feel like there's just a lot to go through to get to it.
And we're not going to do that today. So
no,
I'm sorry.
We're talking about a good album.
I'm sorry I keep bringing it up, everybody. I think we should keep going.
Yeah. Next up, we have Every Planet We Reach Is Dead. This one's pretty cool.
I love the beat on this one. It's just so like sleazy.
Yeah, absolutely. It has like a almost blues kind of feel to it, like at least chord wise, which is very interesting.
Skrillex really thought he was going to recreate this song with Doompy Poomp, but he fucking didn't.
Honestly, Doompy Poomp is really the Every Planet We Reach Is Dead of Recess.
We can't even. I can't even say that. I can't even for the bit agree with that.
No.
No,
Recess doesn't deserve that.
No, he doesn't. I love the way that the beat kind of like staggers
Yeah.
and just, oh my God, the fucking like cymbal crashes on the chorus. So good. So good.
Especially when it gets to the end where everything, it's just this cacophony of sound and it's just this big breakdown leading out with the fucking violin solos. Oh my God.
Dude, you just like melt at some of these fucking injections of all these different like types of instrument setups. Like, oh my God. The creativity and composition on this record is just, it's ingenious.
Yeah.
Like, it's wild. It's so wild how well they just execute everything.
For their second attempt, too, nonetheless, which is very impressive.
It really defined, I think, what fans would expect later on.
Absolutely.
And I think for the most part, they deliver pretty decently. But yeah, I do very much like this track a lot. This is one that like I didn't listen to a lot before, but it did get added to my playlist.
Nice.
Because I really also just love the synth thing. It's like a weird kind of like a sequencer, kind of like
it's
really,
very harsh.
Yeah, it's harsh, but like it's bright at the same time.
It fits the tone very well. There's also a phenomenal piano solo by Ike Turner.
Amazing.
In there, which is iconic. And I again, this album does juxtaposition very well between the verses and the choruses, where it's a lot more low key with like emphasized kind of elongated string passages during the verses with like the more kind of crash heavy, just heavier sounding chorus overall before the breakdown at the end.
Now, is this one sort of like a thing of just to sort of stay on track with the fact that they're talking about issues like within the world and like especially in America?
Yeah.
Is this supposed to kind of talk about, from what I gather, like us as like humanity depleting planets and just sort of like?
I think it's definitely an environmental message from what I remember. I don't remember the specifics, but I think it's kind of like, I think you're right. Like just humanity as a whole is a very kind of parasitic.
And we're just going to keep like depleting the planets of their natural resources no matter what, and eventually there's going to be no planets left.
Exactly.
Which is hyperbole, but it's also very truthful of our current planet. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because we're not going to get very far, guys, in the solar system. We keep thinking we are.
No.
We're fucking not.
No. It's kind of over, guys. Just listen to Demon Days.
No, for real.
Let it ring out.
I love how relevant it still is, though.
Exactly. For like a lot of these issues, even like on simpler songs like White Light, there's still like something very poignant about it. But we'll get to that.
We will get to that. I'm very eager to get to this track.
Oh, yes.
Because at the time when because I did listen to this album all the way through a long time ago, and I remember being like, this is all right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But now that I think I've grown to have more of an appreciation for production style and like music technique and stuff like that, even if it's like not the most like orthodox or conventional, I feel like now I have just like a far greater appreciation for this record. And now that I know, and I've listened to an extensive amount of MF Doom, when I heard his voice start, I almost cried. Like it was, oh my gosh, this track is called November Has Come.
Yeah.
And the fact they fucking got MF Doom on this album is kind of insane.
Yeah, even he's surprised by it. There's a verse, I think it's, did I write it down?
He did, yes, he does mention something about like the Gorillaz, right? It's like, how the fuck did I get here?
Nah, for real, the villain on a Gorilla John, which is, it's like, he's kind of making fun of it. It's like, yeah, you wouldn't expect this like notorious underground rapper to be on a Gorillaz album, but it works beautifully.
It also shows just how in touch with just the counterculture of America that Gorillaz was.
It's like this track is like specifically here to bolster that culture of rap, and it does that flawlessly.
I mean, he was already doing really, really well.
Yeah,
you know what
he
I
was
mean?
in his like fucking yee shit in like that era of his career with Food and Mad Villainy. I think The Mouse and the Mask came out like soon after that.
But like at the same time too, like, because I know a lot of, globalization, a lot of culture bleeds into other cultures. And then, they sort of like make hallmarks of themselves like in each like nation pretty much. You see that with a lot of like chain restaurants. But I know a lot of like American media and a lot of American like culture was bleeding into England and other countries in terms of like rights and like movements and all that stuff. So it's really, really cool that like the creators of Gorillaz were so in touch with the counterculture of rap in America that they were like,
come on our album.
And my God, I sure did. You know what I mean? No, this. Oh my God,
he killed it.
He really, really fucking killed it. It's insane. In the main credits, besides Wikipedia, he wasn't credited. Like that's wild. But I think it also is very telling of like, it's the message that matters, not really the person.
I don't know if he specifically asked to not be credited. I don't remember because I feel like I heard that somewhere, but I'll double check that.
I I looked on a bit of Reddit threads of like Demon Days.
Yeah.
Because I will say people, the one thing I love about Reddit is that it proves that there's always going to be someone smarter than you about a certain topic. And sometimes it's the most enlightening thing ever. Because sometimes you get answers whether you want them or not.
True.
And people know a lot about certain artists and like to say things about it. So I think MF Doom not getting like the official like, oh, MF Doom was on this track. I think it's very telling of like the person he was.
Exactly.
Because he just cared about making the lyrics and like making like communicating the message. Like, you know.
And not just being like, oh, I'm on the Gorillaz track. This is my Gorillaz track.
Be sure to catch me on the Gorillaz track, you know?
But yeah, we definitely got to cover MF Doom sometime.
That's
my favorite rapper of all time.
I think I got to agree, like right there. As I'm getting into rap, he's been like my main focus and just King Ghidorah.
Take me to you later, baby.
Ghidorah?
Ghidorah. Yeah, I believe.
Fucking amazing. I love MF Doom, but we're not going to talk about him yet.
Nah.
We will eventually.
Deserves his own episode.
Maybe some family vacation.
Yeah.
AJ and I have some ideas.
Yeah, we're kicking around some plans because we're in the midst of a bulk recording session before the studio goes up in flames.
Yes.
At the time of recording, we're still in the basement.
Yes, we are.
The acid chamber.
Yeah. At the moment, we have one of our friends siphoning the acid out. I think his jaw completely burned off, but it's okay. We didn't really like the Pentatonics episode anyway. We weren't going to have him back.
Exactly.
I love this track. I think it doesn't overstay its welcome either. Honestly, this is a track that I feel like I could like listen to 8 hours of.
Absolutely. I will also agree. This is like one of my least favorite tracks upon first listens, but after learning about MF Doom and all of his discography, I love it. It's so cool to listen to, and this track really kind of talks about like the rap scene and how like the golden days are like behind them, and how like the new rappers aren't really up to snuff anymore. And just kind of MF Doom telling it how it is. It's very well done.
It is, and I don't think they could have picked a better person.
No, absolutely not.
With like so much fucking clout that he built from the ground up himself than MF Doom.
Definitely.
Probably one of like the if there was like a Mount Rushmore of underground rap in America.
Oh yeah,
he's
totally on there.
And not only that, he's higher than the others in my opinion. But
he's kind of like the face of it. So a little with his mask, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, we could gush about Dr. Doom.
Dr. Doom.
Yeah, Dr. Doom. I also love the villain, Dr. Doom. Victor Vaughn. We could gush about MF Doom another time.
Let's keep going.
This track I also used to hate, but has now also become one of my favorites. It's called All Alone. Not to be confused with the fun song All Alone, which I
don't hate. It's one of the better tracks on that album.
That's true.
Yeah.
I do like this track a lot. I think in definitely the grand scheme of things, it's not like the one where it's like, I like that All Alone by
those Gorillaz.
I do like this one a lot. Do you know what the Stylo Mini is?
No.
I think it's like the thing where it's like the pocket synthesizer.
Oh, okay.
And David Bowie like used it or something on like.
Let's go. That one.
I think so.
Okay.
It's also on Ground Control to Major.
Oh, Space Oddity.
I think he uses it on that one.
Gotcha.
And that's why some people have bought it. They're like, oh, I want to be like David Bowie. You know what I mean? Like, haha. Guy Lombardo, you know.
Yeah, the residents. Big Bowie heads.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I can see it.
I did not used to like this one, but I don't know. Something about it is very enticing. There's a section in the middle that's just fucking dreamy as fuck.
Oh, did I write her name down?
And I could live in that space that it creates for like 3 days. It's so good.
Martina Topley Bird, her like passage in the bridge where it goes from this like very kind of electric heavy sounding song to this like almost heavenly sounding chorus with like is it keys?
I would say so. Yeah,
keys. And it's just such like a cool juxtaposition from this like rap verse, hardcore electronic beat, and it's very well done. It's not a favorite of mine on this album, but I like it, and I always kind of liked it.
I've kind of come to the conclusion that every track on here is my favorite.
Yeah, every track on here is fucking good, and every planet we reach is dead.
Yeah, that's true. You know,
they go hand in hand.
It's true. That's true. It's the same as it ever was. Shit, that was the
last Tom Hates albums.
That was the last Tom Hates albums. Yeah, no, this is not a lot to say about this track, honestly, but I think it's quite a good one. I really just enjoyed listening to it.
Root Manuka or Root Monica?
I believe so.
He is the feature on this album.
I believe
so.
on
this track.
I think it was.
Yeah. And yeah, he kills it. Honestly, all the guest features on this album are fucking incredible. They're so good.
They are very, very good.
What a lineup, and they all perform like their hearts out. It's great.
It's fantastic. Even like this point, as we are 10 tracks in, like I was still just like, I'm bobbing my head and I'm just fucking feeling it, man.
And there's still good shit to come.
There is. This next track definitely was one that I remember I didn't like at all, but I was just kind of like, this is really solid for what it is.
It's cool.
It also doesn't overstay its welcome. It's called White Light.
This is in Lore. This is Murdoch singing. This is his song. It's about alcoholism.
Sounds on character for him.
Exactly. It's a very repetitive, lyrically at least. It's just the lyrics white light and alcohol in different various patterns.
And yet again, with this whole fucking, it kind of has like a noise rock vibe, but then it has like this angelic choir again. They do this over and over, but each time it's different enough.
Never gets old.
Like it doesn't get old.
It's also like really cool as you look with like the noise rock kind of riff. It kind of goes back to their roots on their debut, which is awesome. And again, the heavenly choir at the end, which represents the titular white light,
of course, yes,
is very, very cool, very clever. And then before going back down to the main riff, because it's a vicious cycle, it's a cool, well done track for what it is. Never a favorite, but I actually grew to appreciate it a lot on these re-listens.
Same here. This one was also added to a playlist.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, every single track I keep getting so excited to talk about because I have something to like prominent to say about each one.
I fucking love this next track.
Me too, for a few different reasons. 1, this song is called Dare. 2, it is track number 12. 3, it's one of the singles. I believe it is the second single.
Possibly.
Yeah, it was released on August 29th of 2005.
Nice.
I love this track for 2 reasons. 1, it's so good.
Yes.
I understand why it's a single. Even at 4 minutes, it paced itself so well, and you just don't get tired of it. And 2, this beat I know from a D side because it is actually I know the song more, or I know the beat more from the D side known as People.
Okay.
And I love that song.
Yeah.
And this song definitely utilizes the beat better, in my opinion. But oh my god, it's just it's wild. I never made that connection. I literally wrote, holy shit, it's the beat from People on D-sides.
I never listened to D-sides, so I only knew it from Dare.
It's got some really, really nice moments.
Yeah.
Like, and it's funny, I feel like I've listened to that album more than Demon Days, because I'm also just obsessed with digging into like hidden gems.
I gotcha.
Because when you're panning for gold.
No, Matt. No. No, I have to edit this episode. That's not going to happen. Not again.
Oh my god.
But anyway, Dare. I fucking love the song.
Very good.
Sean Ryder. Not like the most, I guess, deep guest feature, but he's certainly memorable. He's a lot of fun. This is kind of a nice reprieve from like the doom and gloom we've been hearing. It's just a fun song that's noodle singing.
Yeah.
It's really funky. It's almost like a dance kind of, like a club kind of track, which I think is really cool. And the message is basically like, we can complain about all these worldly issues like all we want, but we need to actually take action to justify the complaints, and people who do that are also part of the problem.
Yeah. And I think this is one of the tracks that really made me kind of appreciate Cracker Island a bit more.
Okay.
Because even though that is like a really like EDM kind of like heavy album, I feel like it's still like pretty consistent to what Gorillaz like
we're doing
like sonically and like sort of topic wise at the same time. Like, even though, yes, they have really sold a lot of like really sold a lot of copies of their albums and stuff like that, and have been streamed like so many times, I feel like they're still kind of consistent, except like on like a few of their records where they took the liberties a little bit too far.
It was when they were kind of coming back and finding their footing again. Yeah.
But I think at heart they don't really stray away. They find their way back.
Definitely, yeah. On Song Machine, like that's a great album.
I really got to re-listen to that.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. It's Humans done right, in my opinion.
It's funny because like I watched a lot of like the making of each thing, but I didn't actually listen to the album.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I was really active on their YouTube channel.
Yeah, so
at the time, because that was
2020.
That was quarantine, right? Yeah.
It was the end of 2020 when they came out.
It's so funny. We kind of had like a similar listening journey with Gorillaz, like at the same time, because literally that was my freshman year of college. So, yeah.
I think the last thing I want to say is that just like there's a really cool duet at the very end between Noodle and Sean Ryder.
Yeah.
That's very cool. It's a nice kind of like reward for everything. And there's also an infamous performance of the song live where Sean Ryder is very intoxicated, and the way he says "dare," he just kind of like spits all over himself. It's very funny, but a little sad.
One thing if we're talking about live performances, I also want to say, for those who don't know, there is a very famous Gorillaz like hologram concert.
Oh yeah,
That if they ever do that again, I'm getting on that shit right
Yeah.
away. Because oh my god, I
I want to see Gorillaz live. That'd be fun.
Me too. I've seen the Feel Good Inc. live, and like not like in person, but
Yeah.
on YouTube, and the guy delivers even more. I feel like oh my god. Anyway, we got to keep going because
Yeah.
we have a whole other album to talk about too.
That's true.
That's even better than no. I'm kidding. This next one's called "Fire Coming Out of the Monkey's Head."
What a unique track.
It is a very unique track, and I don't think this is probably my least favorite on here, but it's still very solid, especially 13 tracks in.
Definitely.
Like, oh my gosh. It has like this kind of like basic disco beat going
Yeah,
on,
which is really cool.
but there's also this interesting like narrative, like speaking form
Yeah.
in between the verses that's like very anecdotal. And
It's essentially like a story with like a little bit of a musical reprieve during the quote unquote choruses. That's basically about, again, war, how America kind of gets themselves involved in foreign territories,
Yeah.
and then destroys wherever they are, leaving the innocent people as the victims.
yeah. No, this one is very, I'd say like it's interesting and it's very creative.
Yeah.
I definitely, even though this album takes a lot of creative liberties, I wouldn't have expected like anything like this.
Absolutely not.
I dare I say like the next like 3 tracks, I wouldn't
Yeah.
expect anything like I would ever hear
No.
on this record. And it still isn't like fatiguing
No,
at all.
it feels fresh at this point because it's like it's something new, and it still like feels tonally consistent, which is very cool. Very interesting track that I appreciate.
Me too. I don't have a lot to say. The last thing I'll say is Damon singing at the very end with his guitar.
Yeah.
Really just, oh my God. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. It just creates this perfect vibe that I
Yeah.
think everybody still is encapsulated by at this point in the record.
Definitely.
Shall we continue?
Let's do it.
I very much like this track. It's called Don't Get Lost in Heaven. I love the fact that it not only references the last song directly, but it also sounds nothing like the rest of the record too.
Exactly.
And my God, those vocal harmonies are insane.
I also love the lyrical kind of juxtaposition where it's this very kind of heavenly Beach Boys influence.
Yes, I did think that.
Yeah. Track with these kind of like very dark, depressing lyrics about like society.
Yeah.
And it's a nice segue into the closer as well.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
nice setup.
It's very short. It's like 2 minutes,
Yeah.
but like not 2 minutes too short or 2 minutes too long or overspent. You know, it's great.
Exactly.
This next track is the title track, Demon Days. And the string intro on this track, it sent me somewhere.
Absolutely.
Also with like the fuzz that's around it too.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
Totally.
The best way I can compare this track, the way it feels to me, it feels like the end of Random Access Memories by Daft Punk with the song Contact.
Yeah.
It like almost has one sonically kind of the same vibe a little bit, and two, just like it kind of unlike that song where it kind of ends in like this chaotic like noise.
Yeah.
This one kind of starts off with chaotic noise and then kind of becomes a little bit cleaner toward
Yeah.
the end. But it, like I feel like it has like the same energy, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
And I really, really was intrigued by it, even just at the final like 15th track on this record. It has this like really enlightened sound to it.
Yeah.
But like the static just like makes it sound so glitchy, which I feel like this juxtaposition yet again and these clashing sort of like sounds and like ideas, that just encapsulates what Gorillaz is.
Essentially, yeah.
Like just all these sounds that are artfully done and just, I don't know. And then there's this little like reggae beat that comes in. And I'm just like, wow, I really, really like this a lot.
There's also, it's kind of like the light at the end of the tunnel as well, where it's like, even though things are shitty, don't lose hope. Like the demon days come and go.
Yeah.
Also, we have, I forget which choir it is, but
It's like the London.
London Gospel Choir, something like that.
Something like that. Description.
Yeah.
I said it earlier, so you could probably just copy and paste it. It is the London Community Gospel Choir.
Wow, thank you, Matt. That
You're
was very
welcome.
insightful.
It's why I'm here. It's why I'm here.
But yeah, they kind of close out the track in this very kind of ethereal, like almighty sounding harmony, and it's a very good way to close the album. Definitely earns the title track.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Shall we now get into the final thoughts
I think we should
before we
go on to the next best thing.
the Gorillaz of the rock scene?
Yes,
you know
of
what I mean?
70s arena rock.
You guys can't see, but AJ just like visibly cringed as I said that, and he was trying to do the bit. Oh my gosh. You're gonna get a live rating, by the way.
Oh,
and
good.
I think this is gonna be a big moment. Let me just say, I have loved Gorillaz for a couple of years now, and I feel like I kind of took a break because I felt that like I could possibly get fatigued from them. This ignited my passion to listen to them again, and I think I'm going to power through the discography now that I feel like I, one, have become a bit more of like a better musician, understanding like theory and kind of what sounds good through like playing piano and like taking some like music theory classes and stuff like that. And also doing this podcast, I'd say like my appreciation for music has definitely like expanded. So this record may have surged to the top of my favorite of like Gorillaz records.
Definitely.
I was always a diehard like Plastic Beach kind of guy.
Yeah.
This one might be at the top. Plastic Beach is still amazing and I love it so much. But this record is just so well done, so iconic, and just like everything from start to finish. It's just a really, really fun journey. If you haven't listened before and you just don't really know what to expect, that's like almost, I think, one of the best ways to do it.
Absolutely.
Like, even though I wish I could listen for the first time, I feel like I was again.
Yeah.
Like I remember the exact place I was when I was like listening through this. And I was taken back. And frankly, my love of this album has not only diminished, but has increased like tenfold.
Definitely.
So this is definitely one of my favorite, definitely just probably one of my favorite albums that we've like reviewed this season.
Yeah.
Like I said before, it made me really appreciate Cracker Island because even though I feel like it definitely is unlike a lot of stuff we've heard from like the previous discography of Gorillaz, I think I saw elements of Cracker Island that like were taken from
Demon
this
Days,
from this record. So again, probably just like my favorite record by them. And AJ, I think we have a big day because I think this might be my first S tier album.
I don't think that's true. I think you put Asia, Floral Shop, and 3D Country in S tier.
Did I really put?
I think you put 3D Country in S tier. I believe so.
Well, we're putting them back down in A because I think this is S tier.
I hate to ruin your big moment.
It's okay. It's okay.
But I realized that during one of the episodes when you said you never put it in an S tier. I was like, I don't think that's true.
I see.
Yeah.
This is why we do our research.
Exactly.
This is why I need to remember what I say in a lot of these episodes. Genuinely though, regardless of what those albums are, those previous albums are in, because Floral Shop definitely deserves to be an S tier. I think this one is also an S tier album.
Yeah.
I think it's so iconic, and I never got fatigued, and it's over my limit of like the typical album runtime, which is like 40-ish minutes. It's 50 minutes. It's 10 minutes longer, and I was not fatigued a single time.
Yeah.
So I got to put this one in S tier, and live ranking in terms of number, I got to say it's at the very least, I'd probably say like a 9.8 out of 10.
It's fantastic. I completely agree.
It really, really is. Even the tracks that aren't as good as like the 5-track run.
Yeah.
Like I really just had to have like love and appreciation for this record. So
yeah, I mean, I would completely agree with everything you said. I too was always a Plastic Beach guy. I don't know if this is quite kind of toppled that. I think I need to listen to Plastic Beach as much as I've listened to Demon Days.
Me too.
I'm feeling conflicted because this album I really enjoyed on these re-listens.
I think I got to listen through all of them again.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty set on everything besides those two because I've just had so much experience with them.
Yeah.
But I will be having a little bit of an internal conflict after this episode. But Demon Days is fantastic. It's one of their best albums. It's one of the best albums of the 2000s in general.
Oh yeah, I would definitely agree.
The groovy production, it beautifully blends elements of acoustic and electronic instrumentals in ways that are both creative and unexpected.
Oh yeah.
The guest features are phenomenal.
On point.
Yeah.
On point.
Even on like Song Machine and Humans, which really emphasize guest features, I don't think they compare to Demon Days because they're so solid and consistent all across the board on this album.
Would you disagree with me if I said that the features on this are I'd say like 3 times stronger than the ones on Twisted Fantasy?
Yeah, because Twisted Fantasy has some like stinker features, like Blame Game.
Because I feel like out of all of them, like that we've reviewed, like those guest features were probably the strongest. I think this one like
topples that.
Like it speeds to first,
definitely
by like a mile.
I would 100% agree. Yeah,
Just chew on that a little bit, audience. You know what I mean? Just
a little discourse.
Want to make you think for a little bit. You know?
I think you're right about that. It's just not as consistent as this album, but otherwise, I think they have some fantastic hooks that have stood the test of time, as well as song topics and commentary that are still relevant today. Every instrumentalist and personnel that's on this album fucking kills it. The production is immaculate. It sounds great. It's a lot of fun. It's arranged in such a unique, cool way. It's a darker tone than their first album, and for a second album, it's impressive that they didn't just slump and they kind of got out of the gimmick box they were put in from their debut and
really
became
is
mainstays.
Yeah.
So I'd say at the very least it's an A+. I'll probably update this when we do our season ranking. It could be an S, so be on the lookout for that. But with all the good comes the bad, as we usually talk about 2 episodes on the show, and the album that I brought to Matt is not quite the same quality as Demon Days.
That is fact. That is indisputable fact, without a doubt.
Totally.
In comparison to Demon Days completely like flattens this album like a truck.
Yeah, Demon Days is a monolith, while this is a pathetic little ant in the grand scheme of music.
So AJ is referring to The Grand Illusion, which is the album that he gave to me.
Yes.
Which I had the
experience.
To quote Mark Schuffman, the famous critic, the pleasure in quotes of listening.
I'm sure everyone's gonna get that. That's a real deep cut.
AJ's a great filmmaker.
Thanks,
but anyway, The Grand Illusion, yes. I prefer The Grand Romantic, actually. No, I don't. I really don't.
Honestly, that's a good question. I don't really know what I prefer.
I prefer this over The Grand Romantic, to be honest with you.
What's fair enough?
I'll be upfront with you, AJ.
Yeah?
I didn't hate this. I really didn't hate this at all.
I mean, I brought this album as a kind of look into my past as a shitty music listener.
Because I've done that numerous times on this podcast.
I have been trying to find an album that I would consider somewhat bad, because I always bring on albums that I like, and I want to shit on albums because I want to show that I have bad music taste sometimes too. So I finally did it with Styx, and I'm really happy to do that. My teacher from high school who berated me for liking them will finally get his due, because I'm admitting he was right. Styx is not a very good band.
I would say that, like, sound-wise, it's not bad.
Okay.
It's not bad, like, sonically, and I think tone-wise, it's a little confused.
Yes.
I will say that content-wise, this album is a nothing album. This album is, if you're looking for in-depth, like, lyrics or insight, it's not good.
You're not going to find it.
You're really not going to find it at all on The Grand Illusion. But AJ, I think we should dive in with some history.
All right, so
I need to know who the fuck this wilderness man, this man in the wilderness, this angry young man
who lives beyond these castle walls, this superstar.
Oh God, take it away, AJ.
So, The Grand Illusion by Styx was released July 17th, 1977 on A&M Records. It is the 7th studio album by American corporate arena rock band Styx, and it is also their most popular due to their most famous song being on this album, and it also launched their career. They initially began as a prog band in 1972, with its most famous lineup consisting of Dennis DeYoung on vocals and keys, James J.Y. Young on rhythm guitar and vocals, Tommy Shaw on lead guitar and vocals, Chuck Panazzo on bass, and John Panazzo on drums. So I had, as if you listen to the Gateway Bands episode, these were one of my favorite bands in high school. And I quickly realized after graduating that was a awful take. And this is considered their best album. So everything else around this is just not good. And if this is the bar, it can go way lower, unfortunately.
I'm gonna say, although this album surprised me because this is another one where you kind of painted this album to be like really, 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 really bad. But I was again pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be a very high ranking.
Obviously.
I'm just letting you know that right now. But yeah, I think we should just get into it.
I'm down. So starting off, we have the title track, The Grand Illusion. Initially, this gave me a lot of nostalgia. Even though I recognize that Styx is not a good band, I'll have you know, I was singing almost every line of like 3 of these songs because I knew them by heart.
Can't help it sometimes, you know?
Exactly. This production on this track sounds like a wet fart. It sounds really bad for some reason. On this track specifically, I don't know why, but I used to love the song as a kid. It's one of their most popular from this album. Even not as popular as like a couple other ones, but it's just like one of like their most well known. They're really good at writing hooks.
Yes.
And kind of like shreddy guitar riffs, but again, there's really not a lot of depth. And Dennis DeYoung as a performer is really obnoxious in both the way he plays keys and sings. He has this very kind of flamboyant, boisterous personality.
Those are 2 very good words.
Thank you.
No, like, I mean, I meant to describe the record.
Just in general, you know, they're good descriptors. What do you think of this track, Matt?
I mean, like I said before, topic-wise, it's a pretty simple topic idea to grasp. Basically, just don't give into societal norms because we are all the same.
And the American dream is a lie.
I think that the beat change from like triumphant to the sort of like harder rock sound, it's I think it's kind of cool. You know, the hook again, very catchy. It's a little bit of an earworm.
It's also really weird too. Like it sounds like it doesn't work, kind of just based off like the drums and the keys playing the same thing. It sounds almost disjointed a little bit.
A little bit. I will say I did get some Emerson, Lake and Palmer vibes with the organ.
Totally.
Because with the triumphant sort of section, the ba 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 ba. Obviously, this was faster, but like, you know, the way I could describe it is like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, but like with the energy of Pixie Sticks. Like, I don't really know how else to describe it.
Just high on sugar.
It's like this, pretty much sugar high Emerson, Lake and Palmer, you know?
With less talent.
With less talent. But I really don't have a lot else to say about this record, to be quite honest with you. Or not we can just cap off this fucking episode right here.
The final thoughts.
No. Sorry, I don't have a lot to say about this intro. I think it kind of sets the tone for the album pretty good.
Yeah, you're gonna hear a lot of similar things on this album. There's really not a lot of variety. Kind of what you hear is what you get.
I do have some criticisms like as we go forward, but
unlike later tracks,
I tried to be pretty neutral about this because. I've been trying to be better, as I told AJ before, because like I usually don't have a lot of time to listen to these episodes because I am still at time of recording a full-time student. So, and it's also my final year of being a full-time college student. So I have been kind of, you know, working a bit. But I try to be very neutral about this.
Okay.
But I do have some criticisms. I think we should keep going.
All right. Next up, we have Fooling Yourself, The Angry Young Man. I'd say this is probably the best song on the album, in my opinion.
AJ. This fucking riff sounds like I Would Do Anything for Love by Meatloaf.
Really?
The like it literally sounds like identical.
Well, Meatloaf stole it then because this came out in the 70s.
Yeah, well, he did it better.
That's also
Jim
true.
Steinman, Rory Bittan technically did it a lot better.
Travis Redfish.
This is really the roadie of all butt
albums,
rock.
Yeah.
No, this isn't butt rock. Butt rock is later.
Nah, this is a corporate arena rock.
This is like anus rock.
Yeah, proto-anus.
Proto-anus rock. I like the triple meter on this in this intro. It's like jaunty. It's very bright.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the better tracks on the record. But it's weird. It sounds like a mix of Fat Bottom Girls and Cecilia by Simon and Garfunkel.
Okay.
Which are 2 songs that do not go together at all.
No.
But I do love the kick emphasis on the downbeat. I think it makes the album feel really, really strong. But this track heavily suffers from like the complexity of lyrics, I feel like. Because I feel like the lyrics are like really simplistic on this one.
On this entire album, honestly.
But it's inoffensive. It's less offensive on this track.
Yeah, because it's more personal, I would say, than like this grand kind of concept. The thing about this album, like Dennis DeYoung's key work is really obnoxious at points because he's just showing the fuck off. And at a point, it just hits this kind of like dog whistle pitch where it's just like screeching synths and like nothing else. Like you can't even hear like the complexities at points.
Because like I know I made the comparison to Emerson, Lake and Palmer, but the fun thing about pictures at an exhibition, they're freestyling on an existing orchestral suite, which is an existing thing, and putting a spin on it and making it cool. This is their own content, and they're showing off for what? Like, I don't need you to show off on your own content. You know what I mean? Like,
it's just weird. Dennis DeYoung was a weird dude. There's a cool, like, the bass line's, like, nice and jaunty and jumpy. I like the switch-ups between each section. I like the kind of proggy intro into the acoustic guitar riff into, like, the kind of standard rock sound. Again, the lyrics are really bad. They're not very good. Like, that could hide such a lamb, such a caring young man.
Such an angry young man. Billy Joel did in fact do it better.
Yes, he did.
I really want to. I've been trying to learn how to play that.
Oh, nice.
And my band teacher was just like, good luck.
Yeah, that's fucking insane.
I am going to try. I am really, really going to try.
Godspeed, Matt.
I don't really have anything else to say about this record. No, I'm kidding. About this track, to be honest with you. It's bright. It's fun.
A little extra.
A little extra.
But probably the best we'll get. Close to the best we'll get.
It's more than you deserve. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Truly the more than you deserve of Styx's discography. Which is funny because Dennis DeYoung was actually sleeping with Tommy Shaw's friends.
Good God. Shall we continue to Superstars?
This track sucks. I fucking hate this track. It's so bad.
The first thing I wrote, the synth and guitar riff is so stupid.
It sounds like a parody of Twerp. Like it's so fucking bad. Like it's the harmonies are obnoxious with in the verses, the you and I stuff with Dennis DeYoung just wailing. I don't know if that's each member of the band or just his layered vocals. Regardless, they all sound bad.
Lyrically, this song is absolutely fucking nothing.
Oh, it's garbage.
Like, it's so stupid. There's another one later on where I'm like, this is just ass.
Matt, you and I could be superstars, you know?
Yeah, I guess we can at this rate.
There's also that, like, weird little break where Dennis, like, speaks things like, superstars, we are all superstars.
Wario number one.
It's so fucking weird. I don't know why he did that.
I really don't know either. It's like, I don't know. Like, I understand it's trying to be edgy, like, oh, you think being famous is, like, so cool?
Yeah.
But, like,
it's like, shut the fuck up.
It's like, who gives a shit?
I don't care. You're millionaires. Cry about it.
Yeah, like,
look at us.
It feels ingenuine, and I feel like there's another point where it really feels ingenuine later on.
Yes,
but I literally said, stop whispering superstar in my ears.
I know.
I don't like this.
Like we get it.
It feels like it's like the whole thing of it being a twisted image of like fame and fortune. It's lost on me because it, like you said, context, where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Like, who gives a shit? You're probably doing fine. Like,
yeah, and the way that you're talking about it is not captivating or like believable.
Because he's just telling me.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not really like painting the picture like I feel like other artists kind of have.
He's just like, guys, it sucks. Believe me.
Like even like Justin Bieber, I feel like in like his song "Lonely," which is insanely popular, I feel like he does like a way better job than this.
I think that song's ass. So
it is
I will
ass.
refrain.
It is ass. I mean, I personally don't love like all Justin Bieber's stuff, but I feel like he even paints it better than this.
Yeah.
Is what I'm trying to say.
There are definitely artists who do this a lot better. Even not with a full album concept, but just songs.
I'm so low, whoa, only, you know?
If only Dennis DeYoung could be like that.
And I don't want to know, who's taking you ho, and loving you so. Maroon 5, such a deep artist. Such a deep artist. But I'll land this plane because some people can't. Let's see. Superstars, they had like this fading out voice too, with all the whispering voices. And yeah, again, it was just a weird production technique.
Yeah, this song, like all the ideas they try just doesn't work.
No.
I get the concept, but it's just so cheesy and like poorly put together that you just can't take it seriously.
Of the tracks that we have mentioned so far, are any of these singles besides the next track?
Fooling Yourself. That's the other one. I say like the only highlight on the song, there's like a fine guitar solo, and that's it.
That's it.
Yeah, and it's fine. It's okay.
Shall we continue to the biggie?
Yeah, the biggie, Styx's biggest song ever, "Come Sail Away."
Definitely one of the best. I think it's probably the best song, the best you're gonna get.
Yeah.
The best that you can do, as Christopher Cross.
Oh yeah,
says
absolutely. But yeah, "Come Sail Away" is a classic in the classic rock sphere. I like it. I think it's fun enough.
I do too. I do have some criticisms of it though. I love the piano at the beginning. I actually think this is the one time where
he reels it in.
He reels it in, but it shows off like just enough because it's beautiful. It's very basic, but it's like it kind of really carries it forward.
Also sets the tone very well.
Yeah. Honestly, if I were them, I would have put this at like the beginning or something.
Yeah, instead of the fart Grand Illusion production.
Because I feel like that's another thing about this record that I didn't write in my notes, but as I'm thinking about it a bit more, the order is weird.
This album is very disjointed. It's very paced strangely.
It really, really is. I understand why this is one of the singles. The synths are a little too much for me on this track. Like while I do feel like it's more excessive on like some later ones. There are some parts where there's like this rather odd, like soundscapey kind of like synth work.
Yeah.
And it's injected in the middle of it and it just doesn't work. Like I find that I had a lot of trouble just really enjoying the song.
Gotcha.
It's like a rather robotic like soundscape with all these synthesizers and it sounds like a demo song that you would get on like a Casio keyboard, like in some of these other parts. It feels like it doesn't fit the song very well. But the catchy "Come Sail Away," like that's cool. I think the vocals,
chorus is great.
I think the vocals work where they work.
I think for the most part, this track kind of shows each instrumentalist at their best.
Yes, I would agree.
Like Dennis has his ballads, which I think is a strong suit in the beginning, and even when it gets to the more rocking chorus, he's not bad.
No.
Lyrically, still not great. I think the worst lyric on this track, "On board, I'm the captain, so climb aboard."
Yeah, that's not good.
But it's a classic for a reason. There's a fun plot twist that the angels were actually aliens and they're flying out of Earth to find a greater purpose, because there's still some prog influence all over this album in smaller doses. But yeah, it's definitely the best track on the album.
I would agree. So this next track kind of blows.
Okay.
A little bit. I mean, well, in some way, I'd say in topic, this track really blows.
Agreed.
It's called Miss America. I was like, oh my God, they did the roundabout chord at the very beginning. That's so cool. Like the exact chord. Like it's crazy. I'm getting really tired of these intros at the beginning of each track because it makes the album feel very formulaic as a whole.
Definitely
having this like sort of like, oh, these intros, what's gonna happen when it's over kind of.
Especially on like some later tracks too.
Yeah, like I at this point I think I was starting to get a bit fatigued, just like a tiny bit. I will say the background singers do work overtime on this one.
Definitely.
It kind of, the way it almost sounds kind of raunchy. It reminds me of like some early Kiss stuff.
Okay, yeah.
Just a bit.
Definitely.
But it's a bit further in this time in terms of production.
Yeah.
Not really in terms of musicality.
No.
I think this one actually utilizes synth a bit better than other ones.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There is like a really, is it on this track? Let me double check.
But I don't like the tone in terms of like the narrative voice. It like, what was it? He starts mumbling like Miss America, Miss America. It sounds like a little kid who's like salty about like, I don't want Tootsie Pops, Like,
yeah, he's upset about his current situation when he's a popular musician and making money. Like, it's like shut up, dude. Like, it's
like, who cares?
We'll never be like that.
Suck it up.
Yeah. This was one of the tracks that I liked more. I definitely in concept but musically I thought it was all right until the key solo.
Yeah,
I found that to be one of the most obnoxious parts of this entire album. Like literally, I have a note that says these keys need to shut the fuck up because they're so show-offy and try-hard and so prominent and loud and screeching in the mix that it's just uncomfortable to listen to.
It's so funny you keep mentioning like the keys and stuff like that. I didn't find the keys to be that good. Like, you know what I mean?
all,
Like,
yeah.
like show off. It's interesting you find him like show offy.
I guess not in terms of like quality, more so what's going on. Like it's very excessive.
I see. I wasn't sure if you meant like in complexity because I feel like it really wasn't.
No, he's just kind of like playing really fast, like up and down, and like holding out notes and like making them screech, and just like doing things to show off his quote unquote technical prowess with his fingers. But nothing that's super deep. It's just like obnoxious.
I do like the emphasized hi-hats on beats 2 and 4, though. I feel like it kind of adds like an interesting, you know? Like
if that's all we got.
on the back beats, excuse me. Yeah, that is all we got. And like the guitar solo, it's kind of nice. You know what I mean? But I think like the topic was really lost to me because, again, it felt ingenuine.
Definitely.
So I don't know.
Maybe the real grand illusion was Styx's complexity.
I was really, really trying hard to not make like a joke, like maybe the real grand illusion. Like I've been exercising so much restraint to, you know.
I did it for you, Matt.
Thank you. Better you than me. Shall we move on to track number 6? Unless you got more to say, as Fataday might say sometimes.
That's true. JY is not the strongest vocalist. This is his song on the album.
Yeah.
It fits the tone for the most part, but he's just not as strong as Dennis or Tommy. So,
I see.
Yeah. Next up, we have Man in the Wilderness. This is a Tommy Shaw song, probably his worst song on the album. I find it kind of boring.
One of the slower paced tracks, definitely. It's okay. This track is very much okay. This is one where it really just felt like they're ranting about how they don't want to do their job. You know what I mean? And like, here's the thing. I feel like comparing touring life with being a man in the wilderness is a rather odd way to describe it.
Yeah, I guess it's like, you know, like you're isolated, you're alone.
Even though you're all over the place. Like I could tell they're really trying to be like, oh, well, the audience is going to understand where we're coming from. You know what I mean? Because we're in like we have a weird disposition on life and stuff. And it's like, okay, I guess. Like, I feel like that's something that goes better left unsaid.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to say it, like in a way that's just, again, not you telling me
more poignant
that your life is so hard, but rather like finding a way to creatively like illustrate it in a roundabout kind of way.
Because like I understand like where people are coming from with this. Like touring is fucking miserable, like for a lot of bands, and there's like a sense of loneliness that you get as like an artist and like a disconnect from the audience. But when you go about it in like such a grand kind of way that doesn't really do anything to make it captivating, then like what's kind of the point?
Yeah.
Especially in a band as not complex as Styx. This is definitely not like the wheelhouse they should be going towards. They should be leaning more towards the fun corporate arena rock that they are popular for.
Yeah.
That makes people get out of their seats and cheer, like Blue Collar Man and Renegade, which came after this album, probably for a similar reason.
I do like the way that the guitar kind of like, it does this really nice like little trick thing where it like really subdivides the notes like a lot. And I think I do like how it does that, but that's kind of it. I find that the topic of this was just kind of like, all right, man, cool.
There's a nice kind of a build up in the bridge with some accents that lead into Tommy's vocals towards the very end, which is neat. It's a darker kind of track, which is cool for this album, kind of going in a different kind of creative direction. But it could have like, it had some fat to trim. Yeah. Because like these next two tracks are really long for no specific reason, unfortunately.
Yeah. This
is the better of the two. Yeah. In my opinion. So it only gets worse in this next track, Matt, with Castle Walls.
So this is an interesting intro. It reminds me of it kind of reminds me of Ice Castles by Ween.
Oh, interesting.
Just a little bit, like in the worst possible way.
Yeah.
I would argue.
I would agree.
This song goes on a lot longer than it needs to. It's neat, but feels a little trying to try and get through because at this point you're at the penultimate track of the record, and you're just like, geez, I really just want
this to be over.
Yeah, like
it's not fun anymore. Like we passed like the first 4 tracks, which is like the fun stuff, and now it's in the more kind of complainy, artsy stuff.
Yeah,
where they're kind of showing off their prog roots, and it's just not effective.
No, it's really not effective at all. I would say that a lot of these tracks on this record have these kind of hefty instrumental ideas that go on for long portions at a time. I tend to grow kind of weary of them. This one isn't that bad.
Okay.
But it's definitely not one I'm going to return to.
Yeah.
And it's just a little bit too long.
I think like it's kind of trying to be like the actual closer, because the next one's more kind of like a reprise of sorts.
Yeah.
And it's going for like this epic kind of triumphant like fantasy kind of setting, but it's really weirdly executed, because like the lyrics kind of stop like halfway through, and then it's just mostly instrumental. It's just a lot of bloat with little payoff. There's like a cool guitar solo in there. I like the guitar tone, at least, of it. It's just kind of disappointing as a penultimate track on the album, and it doesn't need to be that long.
It really doesn't. That's kind of the big thing with this track, I feel like. So shall we go on to the last track?
Yes, last up we have the grand finale, a reprise of The Grand Illusion, and a little bit of Come Sail Away. It's like 2 minutes. It's fine. It's nothing too offensive.
I don't want to say I leapt for joy necessarily when I saw that it was so short. I don't think I'd really want this to go on longer than it needs to, you know? It's just kind of a nice way to bookend this record.
Definitely.
I think it's good to just land the plane, you know?
Yeah.
Because yet again, like I said, some people can't.
That's true.
I think it was witty of them to end on like a short one compared to the other ones.
Definitely. Serviceable enough for a closer, but nothing too remarkable.
Yeah, I would say the exact same thing.
So, Matt, what are your final thoughts on The Grand Illusion by Styx?
I think this record is solid for what it is. If you're like I said before, if you're looking for depth, turn around, find a different album. Which I think I personally made the slight mistake of doing.
Yeah.
You're probably out of luck. You're SOL if you're really looking for depth. Most songs start with like this distinct instrumental intro, but they're very repetitive and like formulaic as it does it over and over and over and over. The synth usage, it varies in effectiveness, I would say.
Definitely.
All across the board. And the extended instrumental sections just really prevalent.
Yeah.
It's like I kind of said, where it was they're distinct, but it's also just like it feels like that's one of the main grabs of the album, is trying to like trick the audience into thinking that like, oh yeah, this have an intro, what's gonna come after?
It's so
like,
complex and artsy.
Yeah, like I don't know.
It's not.
I do feel like this album does feature pretty strong vocal harmonies throughout, which kind of pulls the album a little bit out of the water for me.
Okay.
So a lot of this is forgivable, you know?
Yeah.
But again, nothing really groundbreaking. And I feel like since there's nothing groundbreaking in the lyrics, that's where the payoff is just not there.
Yeah.
So overall, this album isn't bad. I'd give it like a low C.
Yeah.
And
Fair.
probably like a 6, maybe. I don't know. I feel like the number could definitely change, but it's definitely a low C. I don't want to quite give it D tier.
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad.
It's not that bad, but like, yeah, I'd say like a 6. I originally wrote 6.3, but honestly, I'd kind of like to give it a 6.
Solid 6.
Solid Snake.
Don't bring him into this. He doesn't deserve that, Matt. So looking back on this was kind of funny, just based off how much I liked them as a teenager. Wasn't a very good re-listen. My opinions definitely shifted. A lot. The tracks that aren't the singles are pretty bad. It's mostly fluff, all filler, no killer. There's really not a lot of things to say. The instrumentals range from fun at times to obnoxiously annoying and try hard. It's not a lot to say, honestly.
There really isn't.
It's just kind of a standard 70s classic rock album. Your dad's going to love it.
Don't think too hard.
Yeah, don't think too hard. You're not going to really find much else in there. The lyrics are nothing. The vocal performances also range from fine to pretty obnoxious, depending on who's singing and who's writing. There's good stuff in there. Come Sail Away is a classic for a reason.
Yeah.
I think Fool on Yourself is pretty good too. Musically, I like Miss America, but conceptually it's very bad. Everything on that back half also kind of sucks. There's just really nothing to write home about with on this album. It's just kind of lackluster, but nothing too terrible where it's offensively bad. So I'd say like a C-.
I gotcha.
Well, that'll do it for this week's episode of the Family Album. Very interesting dichotomy of albums we brought on this week.
Yeah, and I'd say probably a very interesting episode in terms of probably what it's going to sound like.
Exactly, yes.
As AJ kind of said, we're still in the basement of the studio, so the quality might kind of range like the synths in effectiveness.
Exactly, yes.
So, yeah.
This will be the Dennis DeYoung of episodes, I would say.
You know, AJ, I think that's pretty appropriate.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, this is the end.
Yeah, that'll do it for this week's episode of The Family Album. As always, I'm your host, AJ Sonari.
And I'm Matt Glass.
Thank you all for listening. We appreciate your love and support, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.